All right, all right. Thanks for anybody that's tuning in this morning. Get into some more bite down boxing talk. It's presented by the Pay Me No Mind Sports and Entertainment YouTube channel. I'm really excited about today's guest. He's got a lot going on. His division is really popping, so we'll get into all of that. I do want to bring him in and do a quick sound check just to make sure that he can be heard fine, and we'll get to that. But today's guest is Joshua Greer Jr. Don't blink. He's 22, 1-1 with 12 KOs. WBC Continental Americas Bantamweight champion and WBO NABO title holder at that weight. Ranked, in the top, highly ranked in in three of the four sanctioning bodies. I'm sure we'll get to working on that last one, but I want to welcome in Don't Blink. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, bro? Thanks for having me.
Good, good. Let me make sure I can hear you real quick.
Okay.
All right. I was able to hear you, so it sounds like we're pretty decent. Well, Happy New Year, man. I mean, I haven't talked to you since last year and everything, so Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Same to you, bro.
I got to change one more thing real quick, then we'll jump into it. Boom. Take that out. Where was it? All right. There we go. All right, so we cooking just some icebreaker. I don't think anybody is in the live chat just yet. I did shoot some links out there, on all my social media and whatnot. So just to give some people some time to get in. And I just realized I didn't fix one thing, but we'll come back to that. Just some icebreaker stuff, man. I saw I saw the trailer already for the third season of The Chi. I know we talked about it the last couple times that you were on. We touched on it and whatnot. I don't know if you've had a chance to see The Chi, but or the trailer for it. But I did see where the older brother Reg won't be on this season. Obviously, Brandon won't be back due to the actor's situation. His some sexual misconduct allegations or something took care of him. And then there's a slew of newcomers, including Luke James. It just looks totally different, man. I wonder, you're back in the city and whatnot. Any enthusiasm about seeing how they pull this thing together to continue the show?
Oh, yeah, most definitely, man. I'm pretty confident that they'll pull it together and have a good season, just like, the other two seasons have been, very great. So I feel like the story writers and producers are doing a great job. And I feel like they'll continue to do a great job. And I'm definitely looking forward to the third season. I haven't seen the trailer yet, but I'm now when I get off the phone with you, I'm going to look it up so I can see what's in store.
Yeah, it's like I said, it looks like it's gonna have a different feel. And from where we left off in season 2, it seems like it had really found kind of what the show was gonna be about, and kind of really found its identity. And quick recap, real quick. The Brandon had just kind of agreed. He was kind of pinned in a bad corner and needed a lot of help from law enforcement. So he had just kind of agreed to become an informant against Duda and Reg, who worked under Duda. And it just seems like they might have to do a big pivot to figure out, are they going to continue with the police investigating Duda, or is it going to go in some new direction? But like you said, it seems from the trailer, it seems like it's going to continue to highlight a lot of different lifestyles and different walks of life from the city of Chicago's perspective.
Right, which is it's always good, and because it's bringing light to a lot of situations and a lot of people's different circumstances and why they do what they do. So I think it's good, But it's as close to Chicago as you can get. They can't get too into detail because this is still TV, so you can't get too into detail about what's going on here. But it's a good idea.
Yeah, like I said, I'm somewhat excited, and it's months off. Hopefully you'll have had a fight and had a chance to get back into the ring by July 5th. I would expect that, but I thought we hit on that. I think we touched on Power before. We kind of down to 2 episodes over there. I got to be honest, I'm not a diehard fan of Power, but I am just trying to see how this thing wraps up. Have you been following any of those?
Oh yeah, man, I love Power, man. I definitely been following Power. Man, people kill me when they start leaking the whole episodes on social media and everything. Like I love the element of surprise, So I'm definitely gonna watch Power even tonight at 12 midnight.
Yeah, I mean I've been checking it out. I think it was a little interesting how they how they've kind of finished up these last 5 episodes with going from each perspective. I think it was a little rougher on some of the older viewers. Such as my mom, she was a huge fan of Ghost and Jamie, and I think when they let the cat out the bag that he was actually dead, I think she lost a little. She just reacted to it a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I agree.
So it was like some people, that were just so team Ghost. Once it kind of sunk in, that the dude was actually gone, it was like. The disappointment was it was funny in a way.
Right.
So like I said, like you said, tonight we get into at midnight. For those that know, you can go and check out the on demand or stream it, and get your Power fix in, and then it looks like next week, we get the whole thing. Any thoughts on who pulled the trigger? We saw last week where Tommy looked up at somebody and Ghost told him to fall back. And don't retaliate. Any idea who that person might have been?
I always thought it was Tyreek.
Yeah, that's. Somebody told me, a partner of mine who actually does another podcast, The Standing 8, he actually texted me and said that Ghost pointed and said, "Don't shoot her." Like he indicated that it was a female. So I don't know if I heard her. And while he was whispering, laying there on the ground, getting ready to bleed out. So I don't know if I'm gonna go check that back out to see if it was her or if I just tune in tonight and see what we learn next.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then last question before I get into this boxing stuff, man. I know your Warriors, you were a fan of them, and they fell on some hard times with these injuries. It's a little different looking at the NBA without the exciting type of and team play that they bring to the game, man. So what are you doing with your NBA, following the NBA this season?
Oh, well, yeah, I've definitely been following the NBA, and the biggest thing that I can't wait for the NBA is the All-Star games in Chicago, so that's definitely big, and I definitely I got my team working right now. I'm looking to be a part of that. And that's like the biggest thing to me, the All-Star game being in Chicago. That's a big event, and it's history.
Okay. Now, do you play basketball?
A little bit, not very often.
Okay.
I can play, yeah. Okay.
I was just wondering, with your mentioning involvement, I know maybe 2 years ago, Crawford was actually on in the celebrity game. I didn't know if that was something you try to sneak into or not, if that's possible or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's dope that it's there, this year, and I can imagine that that's something that the city will show out for. It'll be plenty to do.
Yeah.
All right, so getting into this boxing talk, looks like nobody's in the chat just yet, but this. Actually, it might be some people in here. I think my stream bugged out for a minute. So let me get back to that. So let's get into this boxing stuff, man. It seems like you've made a return to Chicago, for the base for your training and whatnot. It sounds like you're back at Gordon Park and kind of reunited with George Hernandez, according to your social media posts and whatnot. Is that kind of what the status of all of that right now?
Absolutely, yep. I'm back in Chicago. I'm back at Garfield Park, and I'm looking forward to the journey and doing great things.
Gotcha. And my bad, I said Gordon. It is Garfield Park.
No, yeah.
So why did this move? Why did this kind of seem like the right move for you? You've hustled and done your part. The last 12 to 14 months to be on the cusp of completing your objective and crossing the finish line. Kind of, can you walk us through kind of what made this change? What made this time good for that type of change?
I just feel, when I first started out with George, and we had our differences and everything, but it was never about the boxing. It was about other things that has to do with boxing, but it was never about the fighting part, whatever. So I know what George is very capable, and he sleeps and breathes. Boxing. I know what he's capable of. We pulled many upsets together. We undid great things. I have had great performances. I have made my career being with, George Hernandez and everything. So I want to get back to that dominant Joshua Greer, the best Joshua Greer Jr. I could be. He believes in me 100%, and he knows how to, bring it out and everything. It's best for me to just, go back home and go to my roots and do what I have to do because, as a fighter and as a person, I only have one shot at this, and it has to be done right. And, I'm willing to do all the things on my part. I work extremely hard, and when I have somebody that believes me 100% and willing to put the work in with me, we can only go up from there.
Got you. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you just kind of hinted on it. I mentioned when you first switched over to Pullman and Pullman's gym, I complimented you guys, praised you guys on the working relationship, the communication that I saw. I thought I saw some improvements or changes in your defense and kind of changing defense in the offense and everything, and you guys were rolling. But as a fan watching you the last couple fights, it seemed like gradually I thought you just hit on it. It seemed like your offense became it just was a little bottled up or something, or I just didn't see the fluid offense that was kind of a signature part of your game, under Hernandez. So that's kind of what I was picking up on it. I wonder if that's something when you go back and look at the last couple of performances, was this something that kind of came to the forefront for you?
Oh, most definitely, man. I'm a student of the game, I watch myself the same way I watch anybody else, and I see certain changes. I see things that need to be done. I see I'm looking at certain things, and I know what needs to be worked on, and so that's why that all came into play with me making my decision. Go back to George Hernandez, which I feel is great because one thing about George, even at his age, he's willing to learn more and more each day. And he studies this game, and he comes with different ideas, and he just he's a great coach. And like I said, man, he sleeps and breathes this game. So a guy like that can only go up. Because he's doing what he has to do as a coach. See, a lot of coaches in this game, they don't understand. The same as a fighter work out every day and be a student of the game and learn every day, you have to do the same thing because you have to elevate your game, as well as the fighters. So that's just how I feel about the situation.
All right. Yeah, and that's another thing, with you being a student of the game, and like I said, what I thought I was noticing with the changes in your offense, it's like the guys that are up at the top of Bantamweight are some pretty exceptional offensive fighters. And I thought it would be when I saw you post that on your social media, I just thought that was a good change if you could get back to the old offense with wrinkles of the newer defense and be a more complete, fighter going into these big matchups potentially.
Absolutely, and I just one thing about being back home, of course, a lot of people say distractions, things like this, but I'm a focused fighter. I'm not easily influenced. I'm not, I take responsibility for my own actions, and I'm a focused fighter, and I live a military life, I take care of myself, so none of those things are a problem for me, and I'm a very spiritual person too, so I do what I have to do, you know. So far as, you know, being Chicago, those things are not a problem. And one thing I love is that I mean a lot to my city, you know what I mean? So I got all artists here that they want to come here, even if they want to come get the best, they want to come swap me. I got a lot of work here, you know what I mean? So it's just, I mean, it's great. I love it.
Right. Now, you hit on something else right there. This was a later question I had, but I know some different things, and we'll get into that in a minute. Some different things are going on with the title holders and whatnot coming out of that tournament where everybody was tied up. You know, the World Boxing Super Series and everything. And now coming up to the stuff that's on the table and in the works. Now, any concerns with you? You know, you're 25. You're living in a Midwest city. We get these winters and whatnot. Any issues with, you know, maintaining that 118-pound weight limit? You on this U.S. Diet, you know, with this food chain that we have. Does this make you know, create any challenges with you in terms of staying on weight?
Oh no, not at all, man. Life is just about, you know, being disciplined. One thing about me, I don't. I'm always in the gym. I'm always working. I'm not really. I'm definitely like one of those guys that I don't eat just to eat. You know what I mean? So I look at what foods and what it could do for me and stuff like that. So I'm you know, big on educating myself about food and eating the right foods too, all year long. So I don't really have any problems at all.
Okay, all right. So now I know you made you had tweeted something about Adam Lopez and his last fight. He had George in his corner that night, didn't he, against Oscar Valdez? Did I see that right?
Yeah, George is working the cuts with George is working. He was the cut man, and my buddy was the head coach.
But okay, that's what I thought. I thought Buddy was in there. But I was just wondering, you know, could you like expound on what you were seeing with now? Does he have any ties to the Chicago area, or is he straight from California?
No, he's straight from California.
Okay. I just thought you had some praise for kind of the boxing that he did that night.
Well, you know, I've known Lopez for quite some time because we were with that same the management team that you talked about, left from high and dry and everything. I was with that same management team, and I seen that coming before it came, and you know, I got blessed by, you know, signing with Jay Prince and everything. So when it came like that towards him, you know, he was left in a bad position. But I seen that coming way before it came, and you know, so that's why I did, you know, the things that I had to do, and I'm with a great manager in Jay Prince and also Antonio Lennon in Top Rank. So you know, I didn't knew Adam from then, but Adam, as far as countless rounds with Adam, and I know what Adam, you know, I know, I already knew this about him, that he could box. I knew all that about it, that he could fight, that he's not going to be scared, or he's not a coward, none of that. So I knew all that going to the fight. So people thought that Valdez was going to go in there and just, you know, he has easy fight. I said, man, y'all don't know Adam, you know what I mean? Like, Adam is a good fighter, and he's going to come to win. Trust me, you know what I mean? And he's a great fighter, and he went out there and he proved that, man. And I was really happy for him because maybe the personal relationship that we were with that same, you know, management team, and they left him, you know, basically like with nothing. And for him to get that opportunity, it was like this written, man. What's for you is for you, and you won't. You know what I mean? I felt like that moment was for him, and that opportunity was for him. You know, just dealing with all the things that he was going through, and it was just, you know, a perfect opportunity, man. And you know, things that didn't, you know, go his way, but he probably didn't win the fight, but you never know, he probably win a war. So
Right.
it was a great thing for him.
Got you. All right. Hey man, you know, you're campaigning under the, you know, the top rank on ESPN banner and whatnot. And been working over there the last 12 to 14 months and whatnot. Did you have any desire, man, to have been a part of the you know, the upcoming Wilder Fury card, February 22nd? Did you have any interest in, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, most definitely, man. As a boxer fan and as a fighter, like, you know, that's big. You know what I mean? And I definitely wanted to be a part of that part, but I have something that's I got some fight news coming out, which is great news, and I think it's actually a better opportunity for me, So I can't wait to share that with everybody real soon. But I got some big fight news coming up.
Okay. Does it look like you'll get in? I don't know if you could say first quarter or first half of 2020. Is that what it's kind of targeting?
I say about spring.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, I just know, so many. Obviously, the expectations or hope for fight fans was that there would have been more collaboration between the PBC and Top Rank, and we could see, more guys crossing the street. I don't know really who's down at bantamweight on that side from you, but definitely we've seen some fighters, pop up on some big pay-per-views throughout the years, and that kind of springboard them into bigger opportunities and whatnot. So I was just like, damn, I know it had to be a little disappointment with and I know there's kind of been a lack of people haven't been too enamored with the matchups that have been named. So I just wanted to get that out there to see if that was something for you. But that's dope though. If you have something a better opportunity lined up, for yourself. So shout out to you on that.
Thank you.
What's your so like I said, I kind of alluded to earlier, man. It's kind of a little crazy for your division to be coming out of this World Boxing Super Series where all the belts were tied up. The bigger name or the bigger names just by the fact that they had the belts. They come out of this tournament for a year and a half or a year, whatever it was, and now we get out and there's a signing by Top Rank of Naoya Inoue. But now we get into these unification fights and versus, facing mandatories and guys such as yourself who've been positioning yourself, to wait for this moment. Just kind of what's your outlook on, on the division right now?
Oh man, it's a great division, and when I make it on top, that's something that has been proven that I made it on top in the strike division. So that make that brings a little more light to me that that I'm something special. I'm a guy to look out for because in 2020, man, I'm looking to do some great things. We got some things in order. We got plans. I got plans. With my team. Jason, Antonio Leonard, George, Top Rank, and we're just looking to do some great things. And I know, everything is going to be lined up. I'm working hard to accomplish these things. And 2020, I'm looking forward to being a world champion.
Okay, like I said, you're top ranked, the top two in the BO and the IBF. Inoue has the he's unified with the BA and the IBF. Nordine Oubaali, I know at one point in time you were kind of made some comments about him. He has a purse bid, I guess, with Donaire, who's worked himself back into the mix based on the fight with Inoue. Inoue is looking at like a Mando. Well, he had a Mando, but it looks like he's going to go against the BO, John Reil Casimero, who took down Tete. And I saw you put out there responding to that fight like you were kind of adamant about facing Casimero. So like I said, all of these guys are tied up. You're mentioning a spring date. So do you think it kind of all roads kind of lead to you in the second half? One of these guys got to come see you.
Hopefully, man. You know what I mean? Hey, hopefully, we shall see.
What's kind of I know you've coined yourself Mr. ESPN and done your thing and done your part, like I said, in picking up wins and improving your standing and whatnot. But what's your thought with a guy like Inoue being brought in from Top Rank? I saw it's one of social media's biggest mouths on what's going on, but he had put out there before the end of the year that you would be the target for Inoue. It doesn't look like that's happening and whatnot. But just what's your reaction to this guy? Coming into the U.S. market, signing up with the same promoter as you. Just how do you react to that?
I react to this. It's great. It's a great opportunity for me to not become just known in the U.S. but all over the world, and that's what I want to do. I want to be a world champion, be known all around the world. I do not want to be one dimensional. So you got to think about even Muhammad Ali. Look him, he's fighting these different countries and everything, and it made him nationally known, and that's definitely the route that I want to go. So I'm off that.
Got you. Now, and Top Rank and Bob Arum had mentioned some things about, and actually one of the fights just got scratched due to this coronavirus thing with Ramirez was supposed to travel over to China for this fight with Postol. Has that been anything that Prince and Leonard have mentioned to you where coming from, Top Rank and Arum that maybe they were kind of planting the seed for you as one of the guys to maybe travel internationally?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. That's most important. That come with being champion and everything like that, and that's something that Top Rank, as I consider to do with their champions period. They want to have fight all over and stuff like that. So they're definitely on board too, and we're doing our part.
Okay. I know you were pretty cool with Tyler McCreary, man. He didn't kind of go into the same situation with you. Well, I mean, if you look at some of the champions in your division, some of those guys have a couple of years on you and whatnot. But were you kind of watching that fight closely? I mean, I know you have a relationship with McCreary, but what was your thoughts on how he performed that night going up against a guy, with a ton of more experience than McCreary? But what'd you think about his outing?
It's definitely a learning experience, but Tyler, I feel like Tyler had a lot of more things that he could have let out. You know what I mean? Because when he did, throw certain punches, you could tell he got some nice punch selection, and he got some nice punches in him. But it's just it's about the experience, and that's one thing Frampton did have. He been in a big fight for a long time, and he been at the top already. So I think that's what that was an edge he had coming into that fight, and but I think it'll definitely be a learning experience for Tyler, and he just gotta keep doing his thing, and those opportunities like that, he can't let slip away. But it's all a learning experience, and then either it's gonna make or break you, and that's just the reality of it.
Right. Now, with you returning to George, I know you and Nathaniel Gallimore are pretty good partners and whatnot. Is he also returning to Garfield Park, or?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you came out last week and said that, spoke on your familiarity with Jason Rosario with getting a big upset last week and mentioning some thoughts in the wake of Gallimore stopping him years ago. Have you talked with Nate on kind of like, does this kind of rekindle or give him a renewed outlook on 154? He is coming off of the loss to Erickson Lubin and whatnot, but
yeah, but I actually watched the fight with Nate, and Nate said that Rosario was going to win. He called Julian and he called Rosario. Rosario was going to beat Julian, and he said he was going to do it in the fashion that he did it. That's exactly what happened, and most definitely it brings light back to Nate, because one, like they showed on PBC, the 154 division is a stacked division, and it's no body like exceeding each other. It's like everybody have lost to somebody, and it goes in a circle. So they give everybody an equal opportunity, and Nate, he didn't have the best year, but I think he's along back in Chicago, getting back to what works. And George is a different animal. And George, I'm confident that he'll go in there and do what he done before. Because when he beat Rosario, it was just, I think 3 years ago. It was like he beat a guy that was really nobody, and he didn't fight anybody to be undefeated. But Rosario went out there and showed us all who he was, just recently. So that's a credible win for Nate now. And if I was, if I was in Rosario's shoes, by me being champion, I'm going to want to fight whoever, you know what I mean, I lost to, you know, before I was champion. I want to prove myself.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of shocked, man. I mean, and kind of seeing, you know, Julian Williams fight against Gallimore, seeing that unfold, and you know, kind of the different changes in that, how that the stories in that fight, and then going in with Hurd and whatnot. I kind of was just, it was a head scratcher for me, but and then looking at a guy like locally or nearby in Cincinnati, you know, Jamonte Clark had fought Rosario before, and Rosario knocked him down a couple of times, maybe a few times. One of those being out of the ring completely, but you know, Clark came back and finished the fight. So I'm, like you just said, I'm looking at kind of, if you look at it as a circle or as a that triangulation theory, it's like everybody at 154 is kind of like right, you know, right there still, even with the loss.
Yep, most definitely, man.
Anybody you'd like to see, like all of those guys in that top 10, top 15, it's going somebody's going they're going to need bodies for some of those guys, opponents, you know, for some of those guys. And it's a chance for Gallimore to, you know, he has that recognition and whatnot. He's been in there, had good performances, and pushed some of these guys. Anybody that you'd like to see him get a shot at?
Yeah, most definitely. Rosario Lupe, any of the champions right now. You know, that Rosario Lupe will be I feel like number one Rosario. And then, you know, that rematch should definitely be a great fight right now.
Got you. Yeah, I was that one was a little bit of a head scratch, and then watching the rematch. Watching the replay of it, just I don't know. I don't know what went on with Camp with Williams. The injury, the cut above the eye and whatnot. But it just seemed like he just kind of got out of sorts very early in that fight, and but it wasn't like Julian completely just lost it. I mean, Rosario forced the issue, in a number of ways.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Hey, you can't discredit that man. He came, he saw what he conquered, he did what he had to do, and he did a great job, put on a great performance.
Right. So like you said, or we talked offline on it, but you guys in Chicago, the Chicagoland area, what is that? Northwest Indiana and whatnot, have a great event coming up, maybe in a week and a half or so, 2 weeks. This card is going on in Hammond, Indiana. Kind of what's your enthusiasm towards this event? I know it's a lot of world titles and an international flavor with the women who are on there, but we also have Conwell coming over there, his stablemate Isaiah Steen and whatnot. But like I said, it's kind of one of these a great regional bout that's kind of bigger than what it kind of the talent on there kind of warrants it being televised.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man, and I'm definitely looking forward to see Charles Conwell. He's an exceptional fighter. You know what I mean? I like him. I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see. I got two guys from Chicago, Destiny Butler, Williams, and then my girl Mary McGee. So, I mean, I'm definitely gonna be in the building. I'm gonna definitely come check it out. It's gonna be a great event.
So Destiny Butler will be fighting on that one too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, hell, that, like I said, and just for the listeners out there, I tried to talk through this card a couple of shows ago, just to encourage Midwest fight fans. If there's any way you can be in the house, I just think that's a great. Sometimes it's great to see some of these guys earlier in their journey. Before you really got to travel to New York or to Las Vegas or Los Angeles to see some of these guys. To pay $25, $35 and check them out, an hour away or an hour and a half away. I just think that's an excellent value to fight fans, and it's a way to support the game, and like I said, just support these guys, like I said, before they get to where they're going.
Yeah, absolutely, man, and that's what it's all about, because at the end of the day, you want to, show want to help a fighter. You want to help these guys get there, you know, and encourage them, you know, and especially when they do great things like this, because they could be doing anything with their life if they're doing something positive. So if you can help that, you know, that's a great cause, and you know, I stand behind it. Like I said, that's why I'm definitely being and supporting my people and a boxing fan.
And what's you know, what's your history with Mary McGee? I mean, I just kind of stumbled on her back in December when she won that title, and then started digging into her history a little bit and realizing, you know, how many years she had been fighting professionally. Finally gets the opportunity to become the IBF what is she, super lightweight champion?
Yeah. Well, I always heard about her name, like she always had a name, but yeah, she did have some time off and everything. And, you know, I'm just happy to see her, you know, accomplish her goals and her dreams and, you know, just go out there and get it. And, you know, especially, you know, Gary is not far from Chicago, so I've been to Gary plenty of times. I got a family that's there in Gary, so for her to be, you know, from Gary bringing that type of life to it, it's, you know, it's awesome. And I'm riding with her 100%. I'm happy for her.
Gotcha. So yeah, like I said to all listeners, February 8th at the Hammond Convention Center, I believe. It's in between, not too far from Chicago, and then you know, I'm coming over from Dayton, Ohio. I think I got a partner trying to make it over from Michigan. Tons of Ohio fighters on there and whatnot. Midwest fighters. I think Milwaukee's Rolando Vargas might be on that one. I think it's a fight that's pending. You know, of course, the cards are subject to change and whatnot. But like I said, it just seemed like a lot of talent. Obviously, with Charles Conwell coming back from his situation, 2016 Olympian, just made the ESPN top 10 prospects for 2020 and whatnot. Coming off of the unfortunate, you know, passing away of Patrick Day in his last fight and whatnot. So just a ton of interesting things if you really follow the game on a deeper level. I just don't know how it's a can't miss event, I think, for the region.
Yeah, most definitely.
And not to mention, you know, like I said, Christina Leonardo too is an international fighter, former champion, trying to recapture her belt. McGee and Leonardo too are kind of targeting Chicago's Jessica McCaskill. It'll be interesting to see if she shows up, you know, having two of the belts at super lightweight and whatnot. So like I said, man, I'm excited about it, and glad to see people investing in boxing in this region. You know, that's how I kind of came on and learned about, you know, who you were in one of these kind of Midwest showcase fights with you being up in Detroit. Now that was Showbox, but you know, still,
yeah,
this card right here could easily be a Showbox caliber lineup.
Most definitely.
So, you mentioned you know, going back and getting guys who you know, had a defeat against you and whatnot. I just wanted to get your thoughts. Your lone loss was to Stephen Fulton back in the day. I know we talked about that last time. He's actually going later tonight against Arnold Kagai in a pretty good, a pretty good. I don't know if it's really a step up, but a good test. Kagai being a Showbox alum himself and an undefeated fighter and whatnot. That'll be on Showtime later tonight under the Garcia Red Cash fight. Any thoughts? Are you keeping an eye on that guy at all, or is there anything that, you know, your history with him? Anything you could tell fans to expect from Fulton?
I'm not really like I'm in a whole different way right now.
Right.
I'm really focused on what's ahead of me, but that's definitely a fight I would definitely want to come back to it. I definitely wanted to come back to it when I was still at that weight in the beginning of my career, you know, and it wasn't available for us, you know. I was supposed to be, even one time he was going to fight in Chicago, and I told him this before I was with Tyrek, I told him, you know, I hated him, like, you know, just send me my check, I got to pay me no Roman boy or anything, you know, and I definitely want to fight him. And his team, you know, they turned down the fight, so that's all cool. I have to move on and do what I have to do on my end, and I mean, I'm still, I made a name for myself. My name is not built off his. And, yeah, definitely, he in the tough fight tonight. That guy, Arnold, he's definitely a tough fighter I've seen. I actually when I fought Desern, he fought somebody or whatever. So he's definitely a tough fighter that, try to bring pressure. And it's, I mean, that's a great fight. I mean, I feel like it's kind of underrated or whatever, but it's a great fight.
Yeah, and like I said, credit to both of you guys. Facing each other early on. So that was up at Super Bantamweight. Was that where you guys met?
Yeah, it was like I think it was like 123 or 124, something like that.
Okay.
And, it was his hometown. We fought like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was supposed to be a 6-rounder. They changed the last minute to a 4-rounder. I dropped him in the fight. They called it a slip. And it was crazy. But they gave me a majority. They gave him a majority decision in a 4-round fight. It was what it was, but at the end of the day, you just made an animal out of me, And I just, took advantage of that.
Yeah, and that's what my next thing that was, on in his hometown. Thought it was in Pennsylvania and whatnot. So, yeah, I just like I've been watching you do your thing and watching your climb, and I just think with him, I picked up on him on the Hurd and Williams card in Virginia last year, and he's a pretty good boxer. And as I'm enjoying checking out some of you fighters down at the lower weights, man, and getting away from just focusing on welterweight, and lightweight. It's some guys down here that really make following the sport way more enjoyable than just watching 2 or 3 fighters. So salute to both of you guys for moving on. And maybe, like you said, in the future, once you take care of the immediate plans, maybe it's a chance for you guys to collide and sort that out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're kind of in a similar situation, as what we see, kind of the building that's been going and the grooming that's been going on with Teofimo Lopez. And you're a guy that could be getting ready to challenge, for your first world title and whatnot. What was your reaction, man, to watching him take apart Richard Comey?
Man, he put on a hell of a performance. He had one bad night that one time. Everybody go to my phone. Lomachenko would kill him and all this. But when I say he put on then it was over Richard Comey. He ain't, if anyone ever called him about that time, after Richard Comey got sick, man, he put that boy lights out, you know what I mean? And it's like you can hate on him, you can say what you want to say about him. That man comes and he does what he has to do. I don't care if they, don't like the performance he had with that one man, whatever. That boy come and he do what he got to do. And I'm definitely, when he fight Lomachenko, I'm sorry, but I gotta go with the Primo.
Yeah, I mean, hey, and I was there for the Nakatani fight, and I think fans might not have gotten the result they were looking for that night, but
But when they don't get the result they're looking for, they go crazy.
Right.
They want to pass the guy, and it is what it is.
Right. So, and like you just alluded to, man, I was glad to see him bounce back and have that ring energy that he brought into previous fights. And yeah, man, I'm with you. It completely changed my how I'm looking at Lopez versus Lomachenko. I mean, and I wouldn't jump out here and say who's my winner in that one at this particular point, but I definitely have some different information to sit back and look at Lopez. It's like it's some things that he can do and some things that he brings to the table that have me questioning, how Lomachenko would offset that or neutralize that.
Yeah, but I mean, Lomachenko, he is him. We've seen him get touched up, plenty of times too. And to think about this, when Teofimo touched something, it don't have too many good reactions. But I want to see what happens, you know. But I'm definitely wanting to have fight. I'm right with the Bimo.
Got you. And I'm about done, man. This just was my last question here. I do appreciate you stopping on the show. Like I said, it would have been great if you were ready to make your announcement, or if your announcement had come out earlier this week, and obviously we could truly focus on Don't Blink business. But, you know, with you being in between fights, I know it's stuff that you can't reveal and whatnot, and we can't discuss the matchup and whatnot. So I appreciate you just coming on and checking in, man, and letting the fans know, just taking a look at what's in the pipeline for you in 2020. We just see we're getting these reports in the last 24 hours about the PED failed test by Jimenez coming off of the win over, and you fought Franchon Cruz Dezern's husband, you know, a couple years ago. So you kind of have a relationship with the Dezerns, as well as Coach Barry Hunter, who was in the corner that night for Cruz Dezern. But and you came out and commented, you know, made a great statement on kind of what's on the line with these people coming into the ring on these substances and whatnot. And looking at the tough fight that we saw between Franchon and Alejandro Jimenez, all the punches, all the big shots from Franchon that Jimenez walked through all night long. You know, what is your concern, with the testing and the fact that you guys are entering the ring? To me, for us to find this out after the fact is just kind of a smack in the face. Like I said, with
It's already too late. It's already too late when you find out after the fact. The girl already fought her. What if, she inflicted some serious damage on Franchon Cruz? Then what? You know what I mean? Franchon Cruz Dezern. What if she inflicted some serious damage on her or anything that she couldn't come back from? Okay, yeah. Then you find out this afterward, and it's just like, we're sorry. Like, nah, man, there got to be some consequences behind that, or some fines that you have to pay, and you pay the commission, and then you pay the fighter too for fighting while you're on all these drugs, because that's not fair. That's just cheating. So I think that's what they should do, really. Food suspension, all that, but fines, and like a percentage of your check goes out to the fighter you fought, and a commission or whatever. I know they gotta get their cut off, sanction the body, whatever. But most definitely the fighter that you fought. You just try to, and even then, money can't, recover those damages and everything. But at the end of the day, it's something.
Yeah, like you said, to come back and to see Franchon lose her her titles and whatnot, but like now to understand that because she was hitting Jimenez with some great shots, some big shots, and to see her walking through all of that, maybe if she wasn't on whatever she was on, maybe some of those shots land and change the how the fight looked that night with her not being able to.
The whole situation is ridiculous. Like, it's just, like I said, it needs to be some serious consequences, because what's stopping the person that's watching it that want to get to the top, that don't have, the skills, or don't want to work to have the skills or whatever. What's stopping us from doing the same thing, or, or what's stopping a person that already cheated before from cheating again, Like, this couple months, first of all, people fight 2-3 months in between fight anyway. So 2-3 months suspension is nothing. They still training, and when they suspension, they just go right into a fight.
Right. Yeah, I just, like I said, man, I appreciate you speaking out on it, and the more guys that are vocal about this type of stuff keeps an eye on it, and like I said, man, it's a serious sport, man, and I just hate for you guys climbing in there for the entertainment of people. Of course, you got the purse and all of that type of stuff, but just to climb in there, man, and not be able and to the chances of you guys making it back to your families healthy and whole, to be compromised because someone is out here trying to gain an advantage and whatnot, man. That's just completely unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Hey, I know you said maybe you're maybe back up or it looks like you're tracking to be back up in spring as soon as you can put this announcement out there. Do you think this, if that's when you do make it back, do you think that's it hurts the chances of you making it into the ring 3 times this year? Is there a certain number of fights? Would you like 3 fights this year, or if
Most definitely, I would like 3 fights here and there. And I feel like the one interfere with my fight numbers at all because hey, I'm back in Chicago and it's no secret to how me and George do things. You know what I mean? If they don't belong, get them going. So that's what I'm on.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you responding to my invite and being accessible, man. I definitely appreciate your time. I don't know if maybe you can jump back on when the fight is announced. Maybe if we can get a 15 or 20 minutes in just to talk about whoever the opponent is and, get the announcement out there, the location and date and everything. If you could spare some time on that, I'd appreciate it greatly. But like I said, man, appreciate you coming in. Last words to anybody that's keeping up with Joshua Don't Blink, Greer Jr.
Man, just I want everybody, keep following me, keep following my career, and I promise you, 2020, I will be world champion.
Got you. Very last question, quick hitter, real quick. Would you care if the Bears took a run at trying to bring Tom Brady in if he doesn't stay in in New England for next year? Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Hell yeah, that means
who's your Super Bowl winner?
Actually, I haven't even been following football, but I saw what was it? If I'm not mistaken, like Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City and San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably Kansas City because I can't remember the last time they were even in the Super Bowl. So I think they're gonna come with that underdog approach and conquer that moment.
Got you. Appreciate it, man. Like I said, looking forward to the announcement and just looking forward to the division, man. I think Bantamweight probably in the top 3, definitely in the top 5 of hottest divisions to watch. You got some guys out there that with Oubaali and Inoue, even a rejuvenated Donaire and whatnot, man. I think well, no, he's not in there. But yeah, it's definitely a division to watch, man. So I wish you the best out there and looking forward to your 2020, man.
Thank you, bro.
All right, take care, bro. All right. Not a whole lot really to get into. I just wanted to get Greer Jr. on here to like I said, man, there's a lot of stuff going on at 118 at Bantamweight. I'm very excited to see, how it all unfolds. And I don't know where people might be with. I mean, it's just that's one of those divisions. Obviously, we don't have a lot of Americans down at super flyweight, bantamweight. The pool of talent there is pretty shallow. So looking at Greer Jr. and the names that are there in a Naoya Inoue, a pound for pound guy, a lot of power. We learned a lot about him in the win over Nonito Donaire. That's a hell of a challenge, and for Greer Jr. to be the number 2 guy in that spot, that's interesting as hell to me. And it's kind of hard to it's some guys. I've said this before. Some guys get a chance to go and bid to become a world champion, and you're to become a world champion, and you go in there for a vacant title. that's a hell of a luxury right there to go and fight, a top 10, a top 15 ranked guy for a world title, and it not be such of a uphill battle. But to look at facing again a number one, a number two, a number three pound for pound guy, fighter in Inoue. Nordine Oubaali is a pretty talented, I think he's an Olympian. I think he's a former Olympian. Nice offense on him, nice boxing game on him. He impressed Roy Jones Jr., was involved with him, I think, a couple of fights ago. He beat Inoue's brother on that, I believe that was the World Boxing Super Series finale with Inoue and Donaire. And a fight of the year for 2019 for probably 90% of people, 80% of people. It's a tough ass assignment in front of Joshua Greer Jr. Either one of those guys. And then this John Reil Casimero, I haven't seen a whole lot of him, but the way that he took apart Zolani Tete, hey, that's some tough sledding right there. So I definitely wanted to bring on Greer and let him speak on it. And it's interesting, with him switching trainers back to his old trainer, George Hernandez, out of Chicago, returning to Garfield Park. I like that he's cognizant of what's going on with him. I mentioned that I thought his offense kind of not devolved or downgraded, but there was like it just wasn't as free flowing and as dynamic as I thought it was previously. And I know he doesn't want to throw John Pullman under the bus. Be a professional, don't burn bridges. I just like the fact that he said he looked at himself in the spirit of continuous improvement and giving himself a chance. That's the thing. The offenses, the offensive prowess of the champions at bantamweight, you got to be on point to deal with that, or to offset that, or to neutralize that, and to compete against that. So I just thought it was dope of him to be mature, to be responsible, and to make the change, and to that's a sign of a smart fighter, and real maturity, and critiquing oneself, and like I said, giving yourself a chance to, because he wants to be a world champion, and I'm rooting for him to accomplish that goal. But like I said, it's not like he's gonna go Robert Easter Jr. and face another top 10 guy for your first title. Shakur Stevenson, you face another top 10 and top 15 guy in Joet Gonzalez for your first world title. There's other instances of that, of course, but when you got to go beat a champion to become a champion, that's a hell of a predicament. And then we're not talking about an aged, a worn champion like a Kovalev. This isn't big money, and all the machinery behind Canelo going up 2 weight classes and facing a Kovalev on very favorable terms and conditions. A short turnaround with him coming off of a fight 10 weeks earlier. Throw some money at him. Everybody can't go into these opportunities with a level playing field, or the playing field in the fighter's favor. A lot of times you go into these situations and this ish is upside down. It's a hell of a test. It's a real challenge. So it'll be interesting to see what 2020 holds for bantamweight, as well as Joshua Greer Jr. as kind of the lone American there in the mix, I think. So I'm rooting for the kid. And then that's the thing, man. Like, you can't even root against we can't even root against Naoya Inoue. Like he's a hell of a fighter, an impressive performer, and like I said, a guy who's garnered pound for pound, heavy pound for pound consideration. So we'll see what happens. I don't have a whole lot for tonight's schedule with Danny Swift Garcia, and Ivan Redcash. I might not even watch it in real time. I don't know if I do a live stream tomorrow to recap it, or after it tonight to recap it. Come on and jump on and recap it. I might do something with my wife, to be honest with you. Might catch a movie. I would expect there might be some fireworks in Red Cash, and between them two, Garcia and Red Cash, but I foresee Garcia taking him out. But it didn't look easy going in, although Granados is not a welterweight and not a force at welterweight. But that was a completely one-sided affair when Garcia did put down. And maybe some of these softer touches and these touches that take a lot of explaining. Maybe Garcia comes in not as game ready, coming off the lighter, and we got Red Cash who's trying to capitalize on completely taking out Devin Alexander. So like I said, it could be some fireworks, but I foresee him taking care of business. Jared Hurd under the tutelage of Coach K. Karama, their first time together, headed into the ring against a formidable, tough, a committed, a disciplined, a guy who's on the cusp of his back is up against the wall, and Francisco Chia Santana. I do like Santana's team. I think his name is the coach's name is Janik, I believe his last name. Silver-haired guy with the mohawk. I really like his communication to his fighters. And Santana, I should look up his last opponent real quick. But Santana he's undersized for Hurd. It was impressive that Hurd made 154. I think he weighed in at 154.2 or 0.6 or something. So that kind of gives us some confidence that 154 is possible still. That's where he said he wants to campaign at. I know he doesn't have the same target with Julian Williams taking the loss last week. So what's next for him? But for him to be that close to 154 to the official weight limit of 154, maybe there is a chance for him to get into the mix. Whether they would put him against Rosario or whether he gets a good win here and somehow him and Charlo get. I don't know what the PBC does with that 154-pound division and how they move forward, with guys like Tony Harrison, Julian Williams, Erickson Lubin. I don't know how they put all these Jared Hurd, J-Rock, Charlo. I mean, they're kind of playing with house money, being that they control all of the major players over there. So I don't know. Also, but like I just talked through with Joshua Greer Jr., a former opponent of Stephen Fulton. Fulton is kind of puts me in the mind of the maybe like an Oshaki Foster at 130, who I'm hoping to have on maybe next week. There's a chance I could get Oshaki on next Saturday as next week's guest. But Fulton just puts me in the mind of one of these guys who's just kept his head low kept training, kept improving, and kept firing. He's taking out these undefeated fighters, and doing his thing. And Kagai tonight, I think Kagai might have a little size advantage on him. Might be a little height advantage, a minor one, maybe some reach advantage. He's he brings some things to the some skills to the table. But again, Fulton seems to be a more slicker boxer puncher. He's a hungry guy. He's motivated. He seems to be pretty disciplined. It's actually an interview on the playlist with him. I really find him as a really interesting talent. Tried to link up with him for a live stream. He confirmed and then backed out, blah, blah, blah. Didn't get him on. But like I said, I'm excited to see what he does tonight. I thought it was extremely dope that Showtime is kind of continuing to look into other fighters. You know, they're not in the premier position in their situation with Fox, against Fox as a partner with PBC. They can't necessarily get the guys that they want to get. So I'm interested to see. It's interesting that they pulled Stephen Fulton, Cool Boy Steph, up onto the panel with Custer last Saturday or whatever it was, and try to raise the visibility and the exposure. I think he's a good kid to invest in. I really do. He's not at your ideal weight. You know, nobody's throwing their future and hopes into super bantamweight, 122 pounds, but with Ray Vargas moving over there from Golden Boy, now being with the PBC, with Brandon Figueroa being down there. I mean, there are next steps. There are clear and intriguing next steps for Cool Boy Steph. And tonight, somewhat like Corrales and Chris Colbert last week, you know, it is an interesting matchup for a guy at early on in his career, and how they're trying to groom and develop a fighter. So there are some interesting things to watch tonight on the card. Just with but next week there's nothing, because that, I don't know if everybody realizes that, but the zone card, as loaded as it is with Tevin Farmer, JoJo Diaz, my man, the baby-faced assassin, Daniel Roman, and the Akhmadaliev cat, and then the YouTubers, who else? Somebody. Oh, and then Andrade and Keeler up in the in boxing's main event, not the event's main event. Or is that still the main event? They might be the main event with Paul and the Anderson Gibb cat being in the co-main. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, that's Thursday night. That's actually Thursday night. That's kind of crazy, and part of the zone with being able to throw dates kind of whenever and be outside of the box. I like that they're in Miami alongside with the Super Bowl, but I really, until this week, I really did not realize that it was not a weekend fight. It's Thursday night. That's a hell of a as a boxing fan. That's pretty interesting, in my opinion, to catch a world class fights on a Thursday night, January 30th, I believe. Yeah, that's crazy. So anyway, man, let me get on off of here. Like I said, February 8th, I'm looking forward to being over in Hammond, Indiana. I think I'm going to make it over there for the return of Charles Conwell on this Triple Crown International card, I think is what they're calling it. Featuring in the main event will be IBF Super Lightweight Champion Mary McGee. Damn, I can't think of her opponent's name. Christina Lenarditu is going back for her to try to retain or regain her 140-pound WBO title against an international fighter, herself being international. She's from Greece. Melissa St. Ville is on there. Letitia Robinson out of Chicago. She's on there, who fought back in the day. And I think this is her comeback fight. Charles Conwell. I don't think his opponent has been named yet. Middleweight sparring partner of Ryoto Murata, who's being considered as the next opponent for serious consideration, being put towards putting him in against with Canelo Alvarez for Canelo's next fight. But Isaiah Steen, he's also on that card. Rolando Vargas out of Milwaukee. There was a fight pending for him. I don't know if he'll be in there that night. As Joshua Greer Jr. just said, Destiny Butler is on that card. Butler has been tied to about billions. I don't know, with Adrian Broner out here asking for Cash App, for asking for cap. It's not a good sign. That can't be a good sign when your promoter is running a campaign for contributions via Cash App. That can't be encouraging that you're with the right promoter, with the namesake of your promotional company soliciting funds via Cash App. But Destiny Butler should be on there, according to what Greer Jr. just said. There was another female I thought that was on there. Also, it looks like I'm going to try to make it out. My intentions is to attend the Mikey Garcia and Jesse Vargas DAZN card out in Frisco, Texas on February 29th. Hoping that happens. We'll see. Especially with the Calyafy and Roman. I'm tripping. Chocolatito Gonzalez. Roman Gonzalez being added on there. I saw Joseph Parker had a fight pending on BoxRec. That could be dope. And then Julio Cesar Martinez versus Europe's Jay Harris. They trying to do their thing with that fight. The Zone and Eddie Hearn and whatnot. Trying to put that together. So I'm just rambling now. I was getting ready to mention that. So let me get on off here, man. Get into my weekend. Again, this has been Bite Down Boxing, presented by the Pay Me No Mind Sports and Entertainment YouTube channel. I'm the host here, R.L. Woodson or Wood. Please check me out over at overtimeheroics.net, bitedownboxing.com, as well as roundbyroundboxing.com. Shout out to my partners, womenofboxing.com and Jay Kemp. That's about it, man. Let me get on out of here. Have a great weekend. Peace.